This is my new owl ornament. He's my new favorite. Hello, I'm Eric from Lonesome Reader. I hope you had a very Merry Christmas if you celebrate Christmas, and that you got lots of great presents and lots of great new books. I got this very nice new shirt for Christmas, which is very festive and nice. And I've been really enjoying over the Christmas period watching everyone's videos of their favorite books of the year. It's given me lots of great ideas of books that I haven't read yet that I really want to read, so I've been making a list, and I think as a special treat to myself in January, I'm going to take myself off to a bookshop and buy a bunch of these books, even though I really shouldn't because my credit card bill is really awful, but you know, you need something to lift you up in January. But also in the new year, we have lots of exciting new books to look forward to. There's so many good books, I don't really know where to start. So I'm gonna just jump in and start talking about some of the exciting new publications in 2018. These are all books which publishers have kindly sent me, and I've gone through all the books that I've been sent and picked out 10 which I am particularly excited about and that I really want to read. And the first book that I'm going to talk about I've actually already read, and that is Lullaby by Leila Slimani. This is being published on January 18th by Faber & Faber in the UK. All the books I'm talking about are going to be published in the UK for the first time this year. I'm not sure when they come out in the US or elsewhere, but so you might want to look that up if you're interested in them. I'm going to list all the books below if you click show more for handy reference if you are interested in any of these books. So Lullaby is basically a thriller. It starts with a married couple who come home to their house to find that their two children are dead, or one of their children is dead and the other one dies in the ambulance on the way to the hospital, and that the nanny killed them. This isn't a spoiler because you find this out at the very beginning of the novel. And then the rest of the novel goes through why she did this and about their lives together, the lives of this middle-class family, this upper-middle-class family in Paris, and how the nanny enters their life and becomes such an integral part of their lives and their children's lives. And it is gripping and thrilling, but it is also really insightful about different class differences and the issue of immigration. So it's really intelligent and thoughtful, as well as being a gripping thriller, which I think is really difficult to do. In France, it won the Prix Goncourt Prize, which is a very prestigious French literary prize, and this is the first time it's been published in English. So look out for this. I can already highly recommend Lullaby. Next is the Unmapped Country, Stories and Fragments by Quin. This is also being published on January 18th by And Other Stories, who are a fantastic publisher that publish lots of translated fiction. And this book in particular is going to be the start of a very exciting year with And Other Stories, because a challenge was posed a couple years ago for a publisher to only publish women over the course of a year, because there was a lot of talk about the sexual imbalance in publishing between women being published and men being published. And so And Other Stories sort of took up this challenge, and in 2018 they are only going to publish books by women, which is really exciting, and I'm so interested to follow along and see what authors they publish. And it seems really fitting that they're starting this year publishing a woman who was writing and publishing in the 1960s, really cutting-edge fiction, but she's not so well known nowadays. Quin, I've never read her before. I think she published 4 novels, and but this is a collection of sort of short stories, but also fragments of memoirs and non-fiction and essays. So I'm really excited to check this out and also follow And Other Stories publishing year. Next is a debut novel published by Granta Books on January 25th, The Earlie King and the Kid in Yellow by Denton. And this isn't the final cover of the book because this is an advance copy, but this is what the final book will look like. Wherever possible, I'll try to put up pictures of the final cover of the book so you'll know what it looks like. So I'm particularly interested in this book because it comes out of what seems like a school of really exciting new Irish fiction that's being published in the past decade or so. And Denton is being sort of hailed as this exciting new Irish voice in fiction. The book has already been blurbed by some great current Irish authors like Lisa McNerney and Mike McCormick, who wrote Solar Bones, and Gavin Corbett and Colin Barrett. And also the actor Cillian Cillian Murphy, who says, "What a book, absolutely marvelous." But the plot of this novel sounds really intriguing. It takes place in a post-digital future in Ireland, when Ireland has been like massively flooded. And it's about a kid who steals a newborn baby, and this kid goes on run with the baby. So it sort of sounds like, I'm not sure if this is what it'll be like, but it sort of sounds like a mashup in styles of like Lisa McNerney's novel, The Glorious Heresies, the sort of gritty reality of current modern day Ireland, and also like the surrealism of Gavin Corbett's writing, who wrote this novel called Green Glowing Skull, which is like really surreal and strange. And so it sort of sounds like a mashup of those styles, which would be so good and like my ideal novel. So I'm very excited to read that. And next is Swansong by Kerry Andrew. This is being published by Jonathan Cape on January 25th as well. And it's another debut novel about a troubled young woman who decides to go on the run from her life and goes to Scotland, and then tries to like escape reality by indulging in drugs and lots of sex. And Kerry Andrew has already been getting a lot of praise as a very exciting debut novelist. And look at this cover, isn't that beautiful? So I'm very excited by this book. The House of Impossible Beauties by Joseph Cassara. This is being published by One World Publications on February 1st. And I am so excited about this novel. This takes place in the 1980s, and it follows the formation of a like drag house, the first all-Latino drag house, which is made up of an assemblage of queer individuals and artists. So this sounds like my perfect read. I'm going to be buddy reading this along with Matthew Sciarappa in January. I think we're going to be like dancing on top of a glitter ball while we discuss it. At least I hope so. That sounds really good. So yeah, really exciting new LGBTQ fiction. The Sealwoman's Gift by Sally Magnusson. This is being published by Two Roads on February 8th. And look at the cover of this book. I think this is one of the most beautiful proofs that I've ever received, this like gorgeous silver cover. It's a historical novel. This is what the actual cover will look like. And the story sounds so intriguing. So it takes place, it's based off this like real historical incident in Iceland in 1627, when the coast of Iceland was raided by pirates who stole a number of the citizens to sell them into slavery. And there's a famous account of this happening by a pastor who was stolen, but not very much is known about his wife Asta, who was also stolen. And so Sally Magnusson has written this novel as giving her account of the kidnapping by these pirates. So it sounds like such a gripping, like historical story. Next is some exciting new experimental fiction, and that is Felix Culpa by Jeremy Gavron. And this is being published by Scribe UK on February 8th. So this novel has such an intriguing structure. It's actually not an original text, but it's made up of the lines of different novels and books that the author has taken lines from and pieced them together, sort of like a collage, to make an entirely new story. It's about a writer on the trail of a dead boy who was recently released from prison. And I'm so interested to see like how this sort of works and all comes together. And I like sneakily had a peek at the end of the book to see what books the author actually took this from. And so there's like a whole range of authors, from like Arthur Conan Doyle to Joseph Conrad to Maxim Gorky and Nadine Gordimer, Mary Shelley and J.R.R. Tolkien. So a whole range of authors that he's like taking all these lines from to make this entirely new text. So yeah, I think it sounds really exciting. Ali Smith calls Jeremy Gavron one of our most innovative, quietly inventive and exciting novelists. Next is an author whose debut book of short stories I admired and loved reading so much. That was Jessie Greengrass, and she has a new novel out called Sight. This is being published by John Murray on February 22nd, and so her first book of short stories was called An Account of the Great Auk According to One Who Saw It. And I just love the diversity of these stories, how incredibly philosophical they were, but also so readable, like really like interesting and gripping and weird and wonderful. I think it is so hard for a writer to write in a really like intelligent way, but which is also really gripping and like compelling that just like pulls you along and into the story. And so Sight takes a very different subject for her, where it's about the process of motherhood. It's about a young woman who has lost her mother and who is going to be giving birth, and about her whole dilemma about what it means to have a baby, the way it like changes a woman's body and changes a woman's life. I really think that Jessie Greengrass is like one of the most exciting writers in Britain today, so I'm going to be thrilled to read this. Next is Parentation by Kate Mayfield. This is being published by Point Blank Publications, which are an imprint of One World, on March 29th. And this sounds like sort of a historical novel. It's about three sisters in 18th century London, and then it jumps forward in time to 2015, where these sisters are still living. And I think it involves where they find some sort of elixir that grants them eternal life. So it sounds sort of like a fantasy novel, but also kind of like a historical novel. I'm kind of hoping that it'll be something like Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell, that kind of like gripping, like sort of magical historical type novel. So I'm so excited to get sunk into this. And finally, there's another debut novel called America Is Not the Heart by Elaine Castillo. This is being published by Atlantic Books on May 3rd. It sounds like such a good story. It's about a young woman who moves from the Philippines, who's disowned by her parents, and moves from the Philippines to America, and about her like making a new life for herself in America. So this sounds like a really immersive story about like modern day America. It's like quite a long book, I think, or maybe it's not. No, it's only around like 400 pages, but it just like looks bigger than it is. But yeah, a good story that like I want to get sunk into. So those are the 10 books that I'm like very excited about for 2018. But let me know in the comments below any books that you're really looking forward to that are going to be published this coming year that you know about. But also comment below if you're particularly excited about any of these books that I've talked about. I know my way of trying to cope with January blues is to just try to bury myself in all this like really exciting new fiction that's coming out and escape the cold hard reality with credit card bills and a like stomach which has grown over the Christmas period. But I hope you're all doing well. I'll speak to you again soon, and happy reading, book buddies.